Good afternoon, everyone. Can I get a hands up? Who has moved to this awesome city from somewhere else, a different city around Australia or the world? Amazing. I was actually born in Honolulu to Chinese Malaysian parents and moved to Brisbane and Turrbal Land when I was about this big. And now I live in Brunswick here on Wurundjeri land, and I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that we meet in. The reason I share my migrant journey with you and how lucky are we to be here in Melbourne is that if anyone else is a migrant, you might remember your parents being a little bit hard on you and wanting you to get the straight A's. And even if you're not, you're all here at RMIT University. I expect that you're fairly high achievers, you've got high standards for yourself, and people around you want you to succeed, right? Like, I feel like that's a pretty common vibe in this room. The thing is, the systems that we've grown up in and the structures that we work, live, and learn in are pretty much linear. It's step by step, it's A+, it's perfectionism, it's like don't hand it in till it's right. And I think that these kinds of mindsets is partly why HEX exists and why I wanted to share this concept with a few of you. And I'd love to get your feedback afterwards actually, because please see this as an invitation to start a dialogue. So I've put up on the slide WTF is eXQ or XQ, and I'll come to that in a second. But first of all, I want to ask you a question around stuff, right? So clothing. If I was to tell you that your clothing is going to become infinitely cheaper because the machines have made it easier to shear a sheep and to stitch it together and to ship it to you, would you want more clothing? Like, maybe. I feel like maybe compared to the days where we might have been shearing our own sheep and stitching our own clothes, we might want more clothing. That was the Industrial Revolution, right? Machines replacing like manual labor, muscular power, human power. We talk about now, obviously we're in Think Talks, we're talking about the AI revolution, the new space races. If I was to tell you that your legal services are going to get infinitely cheaper because the machines are going to make it easier to do research and write documents, would you want more law? No? No. See, that's a clue, right? That's a clue that perhaps that industry might be ripe for disruption with the changes that we're seeing in technology today. And this is a model you can start to apply to anything that you see out there. You're like, if the machine makes it cheaper, do I want more of it? Is that industry going to grow, or is it going to get completely disrupted, or is it a chance for some opportunity there, right? That's a really good little clue, especially for those of you thinking about your future jobs and industries, or people thinking about what to study next. This is a clue from me to you. And the reason I mentioned these revolutions, the Industrial Revolution and the AI revolution, is because we're in the midst of exponential change. You know, I mentioned this concept about linear growth, moving from grade 1 to grade 12, all the way through to university and your job. We are no longer in a linear world. We're in an exponentially changing world. And surprise, surprise, that is what eXQ stands for. So we've heard of IQ, how smart you are. What does EQ stand for? Emotional intelligence, like how good we are with people. So we've actually coined the term and trademarked it of exponential intelligence, because we actually think this is a new way to start to think and measure about the kinds of people who will become the amazing future leaders that the world turns to when you have these amazing opportunities in space, when you have these amazing opportunities to disrupt and change industries like law. People with great XQ, or exponential intelligence, will be the ones that people turn to in times of crisis and change. They will not have all the answers, but they will know how to get them. They will know how to build the networks and the knowledge base and to interrogate the tools in order to help find those opportunities. So I would encourage and invite you actually to test out this language when you're having your next conversations with maybe a job interview or a career counsellor or even your friends. Does XQ feel like something we can talk about? Because I'm imagining, and like stay with me here, I'm imagining a situation where there's a boardroom somewhere in a government place and maybe like the Deloitte consultants have come in and they're like, you know what this team needs? You need some more XQ. Then they're like, where do we get that? You're like, you get them from RMIT because they've all learned how to be XQ. So this is one of those things where I feel like it's a good time to start thinking about language, because language actually matters when it comes to describing the changes that are happening in the world. So at HEX, which is my company, and we basically work alongside universities, schools, and government. We have the absolute privilege and pleasure of offering programs which are kind of academically credible, but also connected to industry, and then like mostly fun as well. But what we've done is we've researched our alumni, of which there are 10,000 across the world, and we've actually figured out 30 different capabilities that make up eXQ. We've categorized it into mindsets, skill sets, and tool sets. So the mindsets are things like the mindset of community building, the mindset of being like global, the mindset of curiosity. We talk about the skill sets, things you know how to do. So that's things like, do you know how to be gritty? Do you know how to actually communicate and present? And then in terms of the tool sets, you'd be surprised to see there's nothing in there about coding or anything like that, but there is data fluency or making and breaking. Do you know how to actually build something and then tear it apart? And so if anyone's interested in seeing that full list of 30, feel free to send me a DM on any of the social media channels. I'd love to share that with you. But this is one of those things where we think we can start to measure existing eXQ, build on it using a combination of different kinds of learning, whether it's experiential, whether it's classroom, whether it's internships, whether it's entrepreneurship. All of these little pieces add up to creating leaders with amazing eXQ. And I'll give you one really specific example. There was a student who was an RMIT graphic design student. And she loved drawing, she loved doing cartoons, she did henna tattoos for her friends on the weekend. And when I met her, she said, I'm doing graphic design, I'm just gonna be a designer, love it. And honestly, nothing wrong with that career path, so fine, like such a great career. When we were able to work with Sarah and show her the power of like making and breaking things and trying new technology and testing out how tech can interact with what she loved already, which is creativity, she all of a sudden started to combine her love of drawing with tech. So now she is actually one of Australia's like awesome virtual reality and augmented reality artists. She's worked for Atlassian, for Google. She's made MasterCard campaigns that were at the Australian Open. And she also now teaches back these AR, VR skills to other people. And I'm pretty sure she's still like mid-20s or something like that, right? She's such an amazing young leader. But to me, that is a difference between a linear career path, which could be a great graphic designer, that's awesome, versus an exponential career path where all of a sudden she's creating additional value, she's connecting concepts that might not have been connected otherwise, and she's teaching and paying it forward to other people in order to enable the next generation of creatives and leaders. So I tell you that story because I just want to kind of plant these seeds of inspiration of how can we bring exponential intelligence into the conversation? How do we think about these mindsets, skill sets, and tool sets that people will be looking for and desperate for when they are going to like colonize the next planet? We're going to need leaders with eXQ before they get on that space shuttle. I almost said plane, that's not what we want. No, we're not flying a plane to Mars. So when we're actually moving into these next exponential categories of industry, of jobs, we will need people with great eXQ because it's not enough to have a perfect resume. It's not enough to be able to just answer the exam questions. It's not enough just to have work experience. You have to be able to be the person that in times of crisis and change, people will turn to you because you can find the opportunities and you know how to solve the problems. So that's my invitation to you, is to start to think about this language, think about how we might use it, see if there are capabilities you can add to your own career journey or maybe even to the way that you teach in classrooms. And let's have a chat about exponential intelligence because I think, let's be frank, the world needs our next generation of exponential leaders unlocked right now. We cannot afford to wait any longer. And so when we need those leaders, will it be you? Thank you.